Open up your mind to the way, the conscious way, the way of conscious mindfulness. With me, Sifu Boggy. Sifu means guide, means someone who points you along your way, who guides you on your path. Boggy is my martial art name, my spiritual name, and my healing name, and it means the balancer between the chaos and the calmness. And for the last 39 years, I have been studying the Taoist art. What does the Tao mean? The Tao means the way, the path, the balance. And the Taoist arts are techniques like Tai Chi, Qigong, Tic Ta, Tui Na, Chinese massage, reflexology, five-element cooking, acupressure, and many, many other techniques and philosophies. And my goal is to help you, is to use them to help balance you and help you find your own personal way, path, or Tao. And I've helped people with chronic pain, with ME, MS, fibromyalgia, with stress and anxiety. But I've also helped healing practitioners, mat coaches, and other different style practitioners to supercharge themselves and ensure they never burn out. So that's me and what I do. What's this show about? Well, this show is The Way of Conscious Mindfulness, which is a regular podcast show discussing spirituality and science, balancing and blending it with mind, body, and spirit with a Taoist twist. What's that word mean again? The way, the path, the balance. Now, surprise, surprise, this isn't a normal show. Anything with moi in it is definitely not normal. As Anne knows so well. And so our goal, so each week we either have a subject or a guest, and today we have a very awesome guest, actually one of the founders of the show, one of the original guests of the show. And our goal is to have an open discussion and help us all find new techniques, new skills, new ways to find our very own personal way, path, or Tao. So that's to spew out the way. So, hello, Anne. How are you, friends? My good young friends. My good friends. Hello.
I'm good. How are you, fella?
I am well. I am very well. I've actually moved. I've gone from London, and I'm actually living down Worthing, which is the coast, right near Brighton.
I know Worthing. Yeah, it's a good place.
Oh, it is. Well, my daughter lives down here, and I find the crazy. Well, it wouldn't be normal for me to do anything else, but I'm still working in London. But right. So I do 6 hours traveling on my days that I work. 6 hours to 3 hours there, 3 hours back.
Wow.
But and people go, you're crazy, and it's like, firstly, what, you've only just figured that out? And then, but more importantly, is I get home and I'm 10 minutes from the beach, so I can go down, chill. What's my TV? My TV is watching the ocean. Looking at the stars when there are some, and just letting the world go by. And I love that. So the whole idea, everything has a price, and 3 hours there, 3 hours back.
Is that by train? That must be by train. Yeah. The thing is, I don't mind travelling by train because you're reading, watching stuff, catching up. I find it. I feel like I'm in the office when I'm on a train or a plane. I usually work. I had a guy coming back from Japan. It was a 12-hour flight. And the guy said, "You writing a book?" And I said, "Yes, I am. How do you know?" And he said, "Because you've written for 12 hours flat." I just sat 12 hours. It's the office, isn't it? So you're working, you're setting up your business, you're coming up with ideas, reading stuff that you need to read. It's amazing. As long as you get a seat, which you probably do if you're starting off from Worthing.
Yeah. Well, and even, or even like come back in London, at first it's a bit touch and go, but once I get to, say, Victoria, I nearly always get a seat. And it's, because I used to do that back in the 90s, where I used to go to, because of my teachers, Russia or the East, Japan, China, wherever I was going, I would be reading or I'd be studying, I'd be learning, if I was teaching something or doing something, or I was going somewhere new, I'd have the language book and trying to just pick up some words,
Yeah.
And so I can always find something to do. I don't mind traveling, especially like I say, I gave up driving a while ago. I don't drive as much anymore, but because of the trains, it's just easy. It's just easy for me. And like worst case scenario, you sleep. But anyway, enough about that. Enough about me. This is about you. And Agent A, as I call you, as I lovingly call you, but and Jirsch, who are you and what do you do?
Right. Well, I write books. I've written 5 books. Last one come out last year. First week of the lockdown, which was good timing because it is about how the world of work's going to keep changing. So the timing was pretty good because everyone said, no, it's not. And it came out first week of the lockdown. Basically, I always call myself a fortune teller because that's what I do. I kind of look into the future. I use future life regression a lot where I take people into the future, and that's been incredibly accurate. I read tarot cards. Yeah, I slip around in time, basically. Now, have I lost you? I can't see you.
I'm still here. Don't worry. I'm just adding. For those in the now. I'm adding the current link onto our posts on Facebook. So don't worry. I know. Aren't I good? Aren't I clever? He says.
I slip around in time. That's the most thing I do. I slip around in time. So you might go and look at the past, looking at your future. I think most of us have got too many options these days, too many different ways we can go. So to go forward and go weigh up these options, I think is gold dust, because I think most people hedge their bets and do too many things, and knowing clearly your path or the best way forward, not just for yourself, people around you, the world in general, your country. I think finding our best way forward is the key. And honing what we do and walking forward in a positive way, not being so overwhelmed by options and trying to learn everything and do everything. I think sometimes, as you do in the Tao, you stand still, you stand still, you collect your energy, you don't run around frantically doing everything. So I'm rambling, aren't I? So I look into the future. That's what I do. I look into the future.
And cool. And I mean, over the years, what have you seen? What have you observed? What sort of people have come to you, or how have you helped people?
It's interesting because the people that come to me, I get a lot of business people. I get more business people than spiritual people. And I think that's because I'm not massively spiritual, even though I work in a spiritual field. I don't think I'm that spiritual. Maybe I'm not that evolved. I don't know. So I get a lot of business people come to me, and a lot of celebrities, a lot of people that are quite ambitious. And I like working with business people because I think, Stuart Wilde, his work. I love Stuart Wilde, and he just basically said you've got to live in the real world. It's very well sitting in a cave on top of a mountain chanting, but we do have to live in the real world. And so I like business. I think we need to come into a time where we do business is seen as positive. That constantly I see people ranting about anybody that's made money, they hate them. And that's guaranteed to keep you poor. That attitude will keep you poor your whole life. Don't expect to be successful or do well in life if you hate people that have done well. But there's that constant negativity. But business will pay your bills. It will give you a job. It puts money out into the world. Great if you want to go and live in the middle of a field and grow carrots, great. But most of us ain't going to do that. We have to live in the real world. So I like people that live in the real world, but I like people who live honourably. And I think that's what I used to love. Stuart Wilde, I've learned more from than anybody else. I feel that we have to live spiritually in the real world. And sometimes you've got to stand up for yourself. Sometimes you've got to push things a bit. Sometimes you've got to work hard. It don't just drop out the sky into your lap. So I think the time we're in now is about finding a better way to live in the real world.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely believe in that. I mean, it always, like you said about, like living, going up a mountain and meditating. It's like, yeah, I've done that. I've done it. And the East, the thing in the East, there's this interesting thing with that. In the East, like Lao Tzu, the guy who wrote the Tao Te Ching, or Lao Tzu, as some people say, and other great philosophers, they actually say they went into the mountain and they went and they became the hermit and gained all this spiritual wisdom. But there's one thing with that, is that if you don't bring it back, unless you're going to ascend and disappear, if you don't bring it back and share that with the world, then what's the point? What's the point of that connection? And that's the whole point. And it's the interesting thing. I've always find, and we've said this, we've had a conversation on this before, is that in business, I've known for, I know, like, especially in America as well, but especially in the East, not one brick is put on the ground until a feng shui practitioner has checked the land, there are remote viewing, the whole remote viewing thing. There's a big industry. It's a big industry. Psychics, healers, qigong practitioners, everything in the business industry. They know that they use it because it's practical, because it has practical applications, and therefore they use it. And that's the thing. You get these, you get at first people say, "Oh, I don't believe in any of that." And so, well, the evidence is there. These people have been using it. Businesses have been using it for centuries. They wouldn't use it if it didn't work. But then you get people that flip, and like you say, you get this. My belief or my hope is that the spiritual community rebalances, because at the moment, they used to be, back in the 60s, it used to be everything's in the air, and it's all, peace, love, which is awesome. But they couldn't live after themselves. They couldn't look after themselves. They were, they really, really struggled, and they were totally disconnected. Now it's come nearer to earth, but they're into this, everything negative with everything, blaming everything. And it's like, but you can't change things from a negative point of view. You can't keep attacking it and expect it to change. You change it by changing your perspective. You change it by a positive view. It was Einstein that said, you can't keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. That's crazy. You have to change yourself. You want things to change, you've got to change. And if we take helm, if we actually take control of things, it's people going in and even on the small level, going in and slowly changing things from the inside out. That's how you change the world. That's how it changes. But don't get hooked up in all this negativity too much, because that's a roller coaster that keeps going round and round in circles. It never stops.
I do less on Facebook, because every day it's going, look, hun, share this, hun. Oh, look, isn't it terrible? And it's total misinformation. I mean, check before you post stuff if you're going to bitch and moan. At least check it. It takes me 2 minutes to check something and it's not accurate. And you go, go and check it. And you go, well, it must be right. My mate Vera, the Reiki healer from Coventry, posted it. So it must. No, your mate ain't an expert. Check it before you post it. But people are definitely finding spiritual people becoming more and more negative and angry and aggressive and bitching about everything. And they've even said to me, I get excited by this. And they're actually getting off on bitching about the world. If you want to change the system, get inside it. Get inside it. I've got great admiration for people. Do you know, my spiritual teacher was the most remarkable woman I've met in my life. She carried on working as a social worker most of her life. And we used to say to her, you don't need to do any of that. She's like our guru, But she carried on and she said, no, I need to be there for the people that are working in that system. I need to be inside that system. And I never understood at the time, but I understand now why she needed. She was teaching people, and they weren't ready to listen, but she's sowing seeds. She's never in a rush. She sowed seeds. It doesn't have to be like that. You don't have to judge. You know, you go into somebody's home and they're not living very well. You don't need to judge, and maybe there's a different way you can inspire the person. And bit by bit, a meditation group, some of the social workers started to show up, and they started to go, oh, this is a bit different. You sow seeds within the system, or you create change within it. Bitching on Facebook don't change the world. It don't. Go and do something a bit more productive. And I just think spread a bit of positivity, bring people up, you know, find the world very judgy. I actually fell out with a friend. We're still friends. We talk on WhatsApp, but I won't let him on my Facebook page because he sees he's one of these inclusive, you know, people. You're so inclusive, but he's always bitching about, say, working class people, Weatherspoons people. And I go, listen, I'm a chav. I'm from a chav background. I'm a Weatherspoons girl. Don't bitch at my people. And he gets really, and he started insulting my friends. And I go, don't you see that you're discriminating? You are actually, you think you're so sort of inclusive, but you're actually discriminating against a whole bunch of people who to me are the most positive people I know. So, you know, don't do it. Anyway, I had to block him off my page because he was bitching at my friends and they were starting to get the hump with him. And I thought, well, little war going on. Let's solve this. So I think you do have to get inside the system and do. My motto is Roosevelt: do what you can with what you have, where you are now. That's the key thing. The other one comes from AA. Find the similarities, not the differences. Find the similarities. When you start, you've travelled. When you travel all over the world, you find you've got so much more in common with people, even from such a different background. You find you're giggling. Have you ever found yourself giggling about something with somebody you don't even speak each other's language?
Yeah. Oh, I have that. I have that a lot. I've got friends I know who speak English as well, but they speak Urdu to me all the time, and they go, because I can tell in your eyes, you know what I'm saying. I don't have to speak English. It's like I can, yes, and it's like, yeah, but you get, you know, that whole thing, you know, you understand things. You just, you know, this, you just, if you keep looking, it's like those magic eyes. If anybody remembers those magic, the magic eyes of the 90s, if you keep looking, and you should relax your eyes and you keep looking, you'll start to see that image. And that's the whole thing, is that I've always found in the universe, if you just listen. Now, surprise, surprise, I do actually shut up sometimes. I don't talk all the time. That's why I got such big ears. And I listen. And when you really listen, and I don't just mean, you know, just on that surface, but when you really observe things and you just look and you pay attention, you'll always find, you know, connections with, you know, with people, or you know, I've been to, I remember going like in China and old, you know, like an old village and like sort of, you know, like sort of the old huts, or it was, they lived at, there was the marsh one where they lived like houses on stilts. But there's one neighbour on, like, with her arm on the fence, and another neighbour natting to each other, and that reminded me of the days in, like, you know, London. You see, you know, Mrs. Niggins, and everybody, you know, yes, there could be great big cultural differences, but then at the same time, there's so many similarities as well.
There's so many similarities. You go all over the world, and one kid will start swinging something around, and the mum will go, watch that, you'll have your brother's eye out. They say that all over the world. All over the world. The dad will play rough and tumble, and the mum will say you're being too rough, and the dad will say you're too soft with them. You go all over the world that you see the same patterns. And I've certainly sat down next to people, they don't speak a word of English. In fact, but I remember this in India, sitting there, and there's this Indian guy next to me. We're all just sitting on this bench, and this car, half a car went past. You get this stuff in India, it's just magical. Half a car went past, and then it stopped, and about 30 people got out. It really was like one of them things, how many people can you get in a motor? And we both sat there, looked at each other, started roaring with laughter. And he only knew a couple of words. He went, too many members. I mean, yeah, too many members, too many people in that car. It was just, it sounds stupid, but it was just, I didn't speak his language. He only knew but we both laughed. It was funny to see so many people get out of half a car. It was funny to see half a car driving up the road. But we all have that. Somebody slips on a banana skin. Wherever you are in the world, people will have a giggle. They shouldn't, because the person might have hurt themselves, but they will have a giggle. That's the magic. Find the similarities with other people. We really need to be. Do you know, I actually feel if there is any conspiracy, it's about dividing people. It is about, you're either in one camp or the other, and you get your echo chamber and you keep hearing more and more, and you talk to people that believe the same thing and you build your evidence. So as soon as somebody comes along and says something a bit different, you go, you must be insane, because you built and built and built and built on these beliefs. You might all be wrong, who knows? But this is, I suppose we are just being divided. So we put all our energy into going, you like Trump, you hate Trump. Oh, pro-Brexit, anti-Brexit, pro-vax, anti-vax. Everybody's in one camp or the other. Might all be wrong, who knows? They don't know, they think they know. But Stuart Wilde said, have respect for the don't knows, they're nearer the truth. Supposing it's all just being divisive, supposing you stop and go, well, what? There's probably loads of things we have in common. We probably both like McDonald's breakfast now and again and don't tell anyone, or do you know what I mean? Or we watch such and such a type of movie. Find what you've got in common with people, and I think the world will be a lot nicer then.
Yeah, 100%. There's an old Eastern saying, especially in the shamanic side, in the Taoist shamanic side, is that understanding illness is easy. If you're ill, or you know, if you're unhappy, if you see frustration, your energy's blocked. Simple. So they see that, you know, if the energy's flowing, then everything grows, everything expands. If the energy stops or is blocked, then it retracts. But so for me, you know, this whole thing of when you're living well, the symbol. The symbol everybody calls yin yang is actually called Tai Chi. The black and white with the two little dots, that's actually the Tai Chi symbol. Yin yang is half a black circle and half a white circle, and it actually means opposing opposites. And in the Taoist philosophy, so that yin yang, half a black, half a white circle together, opposing opposites. And we live, especially now, especially at this moment in time, in a very opposing opposite reality. We're constantly looking at the divides. Everything, you're right, you're wrong, you're this, you're that. You're and the universe, like you look at a day, in certain places in the country, in the world, it almost does this, but a day goes from dawn, you know, the sun slowly rises, it comes up, it goes into the day, goes down to mid-afternoon, and then it goes into night. Some places in the world, it can be, you know, day almost all the time, some places almost night, but you never get, there's very few places in the world where it goes daytime, boom, nighttime straight away in a second. And boom, you know, the universe doesn't work like that. The universe works in seasons. It works in complementary opposites. It works in this is why what people call the yin yang symbol, the Tai Chi symbol with the two little dots, and it's about balance. It's about things. One thing goes into the other, and there's graduations of that. But even in that one thing, you'll always find something. You know, you'll find something of the other. And like with the whole thing of, you know, war. You know, the whole thing of war. Most of the time, the iconic of the First World War, was it? With the British and the German on Christmas Day, they all played football together.
They did.
And the irony was that the people fighting, the people doing the stuff, actually just wanted a bit. They were quite happy to have peace, but it was the uppers, it was others that were saying, "This is you must do this, you must do that," and it's this thing of, are you listening to the outside world, or are you listening to yourself? You know, if you start listening to your heart deep inside, and you cut away all the baloney, you cut away all the he says, she says, and this is right and this is wrong. You know, what's that? You know, as a child just wants to play. You know, a child just wants, and you are in it. You have it in your child. You know, that is your ability. And if we just actually worked out how to do things rather than not do them, or blaming the others for it being wrong. You just
Yeah.
figured out how to do it. We wouldn't have the issues we have. We wouldn't, and a lot of the problems we have could be solved just by, as you say, finding the similarities instead of finding the differences.
I've really found that, and I love it. What was it interests me is that, it's like working in the Middle East a lot, and I've often got more. I've lived in a little village in the UK, and I went out to the Middle East, and I was sitting in the village with a few of the women, had nothing to say. They don't talk a lot, they don't do a lot, and they were quite boring. Went out to the Middle East, I'm out there with women that pray 5 times a day. A couple of them were fully covered, and we're sitting there laughing till really late at night and chatting and going, oh, how's your son getting on? Oh, da, da, da. We're chatting. I have more in common. And it's, if you let go of everything, you often find, when I came back, I found I'm back here with nothing to say to the women in my local village. I'm out there and I'm chatting to these women for hours. They're chatting to me. We know each other. So when you let go of everything and just connect with the person, you often find, even people you think are horrible or have done bad things, stop and listen to them. You often find there's something lovely in there. There'll be something lovely in there somewhere. You can connect with people. It's the prejudgment, isn't it? We're very quick to judge. That's why I like travel. It really knocks that out of you, doesn't it? Travel. When you travel, you really get to know people and what they really, really like. All of a sudden you find people you thought were stoic are actually really funny, and you go, who'd have thought? I didn't know they were really funny. I love that. That's what travel does for us. Mixing with people from all over the world really opens us up.
For me, the whole thing with travel is a metaphor. Is that travel is about expansion. The more you go outwards, the more you'll see, the more you can pick up. And again, this thing of like people, oh no, stick in the village and stay with what I know, and you restrict yourself, and that has there's a learning from that to a degree, but the point is, when you go out and you see different things, and again, we have lots of similarities, but there's also lots of differences in a good way, meaning that you can go and say, oh, I never thought of that, I never thought of doing it like this. And the fact is that you can always learn. There's always stuff to learn if you let yourself, and it goes to that thing of the beginner's mind, always having a beginner's mind. If you allow yourself to be, you allow things to, well, when people judge stuff, when we say, oh, I know everything, I'm right, it's my biggest thing of the word like guru or master to a degree, is that especially in the older days, they know everything, they're the top. And it's like, nobody knows everything. Unless you're the universe, nobody knows everything. There's always more to learn, there's always more to grow. There's always more to know.
What Greta, my spiritual teacher, used to say was, when you've learned everything you need to learn, you stop breathing. So if you're still breathing, you've still got more to learn. And you just go, okay, that's fair. I'm still here, still got stuff to learn.
Yes, and you learn that by experiencing, and you learn by being open. If you close yourself off and just live in your house or just live in your village, or you can put on the TV, but the TV is very narrow. Books are very narrow. There was a saying. There's a saying about war. Is that history and war. History is always written by the victor. It's always in a certain perspective, and books. And I love books, and I love programs, but they're always in a narrow perspective. They're from the perspective of that director, or the perspective of that writer.
Absolutely.
So by going out, read blooming read books. Read definitely. I again, there's that saying of your library should be bigger than your TV. And it is. I don't even have a TV, so I'm awesome. Even one book. But anyway, that's a joke. But that whole thing of learning is good, but also just going out there in the world, and you can learn so much from people and nature. You can just learn so much I've said like before, which is quite today, one of the things I've always loved doing is just going sitting on that beach for 3 hours and just sit on the beach and just watch the ocean and then let the thoughts drift like the ocean.
Yeah.
And I can learn so much from there and let go so much from there. And it's just such, you need to experience stuff. You need to allow yourself.
I know what you're saying. I found that there's so much of everything: books to read, social media, constantly the phone's pinging. So I've turned off notifications. There's stuff to watch on telly, online. That I found I was losing my thinking time. I found I did, and my thinking time's where ideas have come from, where I kind of go, I download. That download we get when we're suddenly aware of stuff. I started to lose all that. So I don't watch the news anymore. I'm not interested in the news. Haven't watched that for a long time. I do watch a bit of Netflix of a night. It clears my head and resets me. And I read. I've always got a book on the go. But I'm having more time. And I found a field near me where I walk around this field. And you've got the red kites flying. And it's interesting to see who walks around the field. There might be a lady with her dog. There might be a couple of lads having a sneaky spliff, you can smell it as you walk past. You think, yeah. And then you get, a couple, young couple, they're just out of school and they're going for it. And it's lovely. You walk around that field and you're people watching and you've got the birds and the flowers. And it's just that. Then I've got my thinking time. I actually leave my phone at home, leave my purse at home, and just take my keys and the bag and a bottle of water and go, I'm not going to check anything. I'm just going for that walk. You sitting on the beach, I would absolutely love that. I have got the river outside my office, so I go and watch. And I don't do it enough. You're reminding me. I don't sit and look at the river enough, and I should do it more often.
Yeah, you have a lovely office. I know. I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that, but this is the thing. It's I remember. I think I saw a similar. I don't know if you remember the Giles cartoons. And the Giles, he did one cartoon where this person goes, oh, I want to see the world, or I wish I could see the world, oh, I wish I could do this, I wish I could do that, and then the next thing you see him, he's sitting facing the wall, and outside his window there's a beautiful fields and meadows and it's like, he's wishing he could go out and he's missing all that, that splendor right outside his door. And I think it's that thing of, you need to be bold. You need to go and do stuff. And that's the biggest thing. Like I say, if there's something you didn't like, change it. And if you can't change it, then find something. Focus on something else. Because if you keep focusing on the thing you can't do nothing about, there's nothing you can do. All you do is frustrate yourself. All you do is make yourself ill. So focus on something else, or focus on ways of changing your reality, and your reality affects everything else in the long run anyway.
No, you're actually hitting a nerve, because I get in this office and I just get in there early in the morning, just work. And I've got this glorious countryside, and weeks pass and I haven't sat by the river or gone for a walk. Sometimes of an evening when I've gone home, I might walk around that field. But where my office is, there's a lake. I've never been to the lake. Literally out my office, just across the lane is a lake, and I've never been there. Why haven't I been there? It's so easy just to get stuck in life and not go and do these things. And I need to do more of. I know I need to do more of it. I definitely need to do. I think life is a balance. For some people, spend all their day daydreaming and going for walks, and they don't do any work. I do think we're here to contribute and do some work. I'm a great believer in people working, doing something. There's always something, even if it's voluntary, there's always something. I feel like we're all here to contribute. But I think we either just live our life floating around and not doing anything, or we're working all the time. And it is that balance. I certainly haven't got that balance. I definitely need to work at that.
The balance, the Tao, that's why the show's called The Way Of. The Way Of means the way, the balance. And I definitely feel that is the key. That is because again, you daydreaming and nothing get, or if you and that's the whole thing of the sitting up the being the hermit, sit on the mountain. Yes, you get all these wonderful ideas, but then you've got to do something with it, and so that's where there has to be the balance. There has to be this, and so like going back a bit to where I work in London in all the hustle and bustle, but even actually where I work, I there's a place called the Lido near me, which Cliff Richards did the young ones when the film of the young
which
ones.
Lido's that? Which Lido?
Ruislip Lido.
I was one of the first people in Ruislip Lido when it opened when I was a little kid. I know that. My parents used to go there. Yeah. I think they threw me in and I've never gone near water since. But that's another story. Yeah, I know Ruislip Lido. Yeah, they're champion swimmers, my parents. I think I must have been swapped at birth because I'm like, no. Yeah, I know Ruislip Lido. It's an amazing place, and we also used to go to the Serpentine, and that was amazing. Just go and splash about in the water. Just go and have fun. Just go and paddle. Just being around water is so good for you. And I'm glad you're by the seaside because it is amazing to be by it. A few of my friends. Just coming back to say you said earlier about people that have gone and lived off grid or the first of the hippies really. But a friend of mine was one of the first hippies to go and live in teepees and set up Teepee Valley. And, it was remarkable what they did, but it's exactly what you're saying. They still collected their dole check once a week. I'll probably get in trouble with his kids for saying that. But they didn't set up an alternate life. You've got a kind of, people who want to live outside the system still want the system to support them. And I find with a lot of people, they go, oh, well, bring down capitalism. Yeah, mate, you're going to be the first to starve and fall apart and be crying. Do you know what I mean? If you get rid of capitalism, that's what's paying for you to live. Your trainers and your place you live in and the food on your table, you ain't going to survive without it. And so people want dramatic change. They've got these idealistic views. But back in the day, they did change thinking, them guys, and I'm really thankful to them. And I've watched the children that grew up there who were wild. They brought in a teacher back in the day, and the teachers, I can't teach them. The kids just run around doing what they want. But they've actually grown up beautifully. And one of them started an amazing craft business, and hugely successful. They have actually, because they've grown up outside the system, but I do think you have to contribute. I do believe in earning money, earning a living, and contributing. I think if everybody did that, there's a lovely flow. There's a beautiful flow. I get people contact me and say, well, how do I manifest £1 million? And I go, do you know, mate, I wouldn't be working 14-hour days if I knew how to manifest £1 million. I'd still work, but I wouldn't be working 14-hour days. But they want it to drop out the sky. And there's a lot of that these days. They just want to manifest a huge amount of money. And you go, no, you have to do, even the greatest fans of The Secret and blah, 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 like Oprah Winfrey, she was a ballsy, hardworking woman. It didn't drop out the sky. She didn't sit in her front room asking for it. She worked hard. And I think that's part of it. I think the balance comes in work, spirituality, have a clear vision of what you want, contribute. And I think that's how we get the balance.
Yeah. The big thing, a lot of people are that sort of, they just want it to happen. It's like, no, there has to be a physical side, there has to be an emotional side, there has to be a spiritual side. I know in manifestation is that you have to love what it is you want. You have to have, like daydream and, that, we're sitting near the lake or sitting up the mountain. You have to visualize what you want, but then you still have to physically do something. That's the whole point. And I have to look him up because there was an entrepreneur that said that anybody in this world, everybody is what is your passion? What is your true passion? And do that as your job. And people say, but how, I like stamp collecting. How could that earn me money? He says, there are always people, whatever your passion is, there are people who also want to do that passion as well. And you can train those people and teach those people how to do that passion, or you can help them and be an advisor or do, so whatever your passion is in the world, if you if you work on it and harness it, and you spend your time, you can make that your skill, and you can bring that out into the world. And there's this,
whatever your passion is, there's somebody already earning a bloody good living out of it. There, and stamp collecting. I remember when I was a kid, I heard about this guy, and he ended up in the newspaper because people just collected stamps. They'd earn a bit of money and collecting. It was a big thing back in the day, collecting stamps. Some amazing, beautiful stamps out there from all over the world. And he specialised in penny blacks. That's all he kept. And he made £1 million. He made £1 million because he knew that one is slightly different from the others. So the book rate, so it was 10 quid or something. This one's worth 1,000. That one's worth. And he specialised, and he made a fortune. First person I heard about made a fortune from a hobby. First time I ever heard that. Others done it, but I was only a kid back then. So there's always somebody making a great living. And if it's something you're in tune with, and you put energy into it, and you use it to benefit people, you're going to do well. And that's great. You're actually doing something you love, but making it great for other people or helping them along their way. It's like whatever you're into, there's always somebody that's into a type of motorcycle, and there'll be somebody specialising in stuff to do with that. Everybody that comes into their shop is into the bike. They end up having a chat, or I had one of them back in the day, and I've got that. You're surrounding yourself with your tribe, and I love that. I'm a big fan of tribes, finding people that are on the same mission as you, that kind of get you and get what you're into. You find people are quite lonely today, I think. Once you start doing what you do, you attract, like you with your energy work, your tribe show up for what you do. They get what you do. They understand it. That's fabulous, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. There's actually, it's funny you say that, because I'm actually doing a assisting or doing a part-time job. There's a new app coming out, or a new app out called Vibio, and it's all about a way of finding your tribe, finding people. So they have different heart tags or hashtags, and what you love. What is it you love, and you focus on that, and you find people. You click on, I like sitting by the sea, or no, I like ice skating. Yeah. So you focus on that, and then all the people like ice skating also come up, and then you'll find, like you say, you find your tribe. Yeah. And that's the thing. That's what we need to do. So like the idea of Vibio. That's why I went for this app. It's awesome in that sense of it's helping you find your like-minded people. And that's the point. That's our goal is to find the people that we resonate with. And what's happened, we love, lots of people like say what they don't like, but what do you like? Focus on what you do like. Talk about that. Focus on that. Focus on those things. There was was it? I've forgotten his name. Is it Michael Tellinger? I think it could be Michael Tellinger, who talks about a South African guy, and he talks about an ancient way of living called Ubuntu. And Ubuntu is that it can work with a village, it can work with a city, a town, it can work with a civilization. But Ubuntu is where basically, in essence, they don't necessarily have money as such, but what happens is that everybody donates a certain many hours of their day or week to all the chores that need to do, maintaining plumbing, building houses, whatever it is, all those chores, everybody donates so many hours. And then the rest of your time, you can focus on your passion, focus on what you want to do. And they've already proven there's cities running on this system because there are some people who absolutely love plumbing and sewage, and they're doing the sewage.
They like working with their hands. They like the satisfaction of seeing things. I've got a lot of plumbers, funny enough, around me. I know a load of plumbers, got plumbers in the family, and they go and fix something and it works. They get a satisfaction from it. Somebody else will like baking cakes. It's just what is it you want to donate? I love that. That's really. I think that will come in more as we come away from currency because we know that we're coming away from currency. We will have more of these trade exchanges. That they tried it in Cornwall years ago, didn't they? It's like tokens, and you go, right, you cut somebody's hair, so you get 5 tokens. You can now spend that over there and get your nails done, or somebody will fix your back gate. And they did that, and I think the taxman got a bit upset because they were outside the system with money. But I can see more of that in the future. I can definitely see more of it.
Well, that is community, and that's one way of building a tribe is that is that everybody, it goes back to my stuff about balance. You need something, I need this, you need that. Well, them over there, they do that, and they need what I need. So if I do that to them, then you do that to them, and then you find a way of making things work. It's all about building up relationships.
We're all good at something, even if we don't know it. Do you know, I've got an exercise in my new book that I want to do more with, and it's called The Island, and it's for the corporate world. So you've got a whole bunch of people in an office. Now you imagine you're off on a convention in an aeroplane, it crashes on a desert island, and you've got to survive. Now, you've watched them. I love survival programs. I love watching them because you always sit there and go on, set the trap or collect the, you sit there moaning while you're sitting there eating your dinner in your comfortable front room. Do you know what I mean? I'm really good at telling them what to do. I wouldn't last an hour. Once I've missed lunch, I'd be crying, I think. But the island is, you've got this whole bunch of people. Find out what each one's good at. So I got somebody I did this in a company. They weren't working well together. You're on a desert island. What are you good at? Nobody asked this. They're on the survival program. They don't ask each other what. And it was amazing. One of them had actually been hunting. One of them had built this amazing tree house for his kids. So he knew how to build a shelter. And when you start talking to people, they go, I didn't know that about you. I didn't know that. Then you get some, and 9 times out of 10, the boss gets left to one side. Somebody else starts to take, because they run something in their spare time where they've got really good leadership in that environment. If any of you run a group, this is a really interesting exercise to go, what would you do? And one of them would go, well, look, I'm happy just sorting out the water. I'll keep everyone supplied with water. Some people are happy doing that. I want to make sure somebody else wants to be the big person and go out hunting or whatever, or fishing. One of the people in this particular group was brilliant at fishing. I can make my own rods. I can make my own line. I can fish. Somebody else is good at the cooking. Just seeing the group work together, then they start to come together. You can work with people. I've done this with groups where they've worked together 10 years and they go, I had no idea you did that. I had no idea you were good at that. But it makes us realise, especially in office environments, somebody will get looked down on because they're not the gobby salesperson, or they're not the person bringing in all the business, but they're the one holding it all together. I love that exercise. I haven't done it loads. I've done it in a few companies, and it's been really interesting to see who does what and what talent they got. And I think in that environment you're talking about, you've got a whole bunch of people. All of a sudden you find, oh, but you're good at that. Oh, you're good at that. You'd recognize the herbs that we need and don't eat that plant. What is it? It's a really exciting one to work with.
Yeah, and it goes back to that. It's finding, as we said from the beginning, finding your similarities, not your differences.
Yeah.
But also finding out people's strengths, because because everybody has strengths and weaknesses, and it's that whole thing on, for finding out what you're good at and strengths. And that's that thing in society. In a society like in a job where everybody's doing the same thing, we've got this misconception that everybody's the same, and it's like everybody isn't the same, because we all have different passions, we all have different loves, and that's the thing. If you go off and you do your desires and your passions, they are your strengths, they are your skills, and that means that you have different things to bring to the table.
Absolutely. I think we need to come back to being a bit more human. I'm finding we're not very human at the moment. We're all angry and upset, and this is being done wrong, and that shouldn't be that, and that lot wrong, and Come back to being human, and look at the person you disagree with the most and get to know them, and you'll probably find there's an amazing person in there. you'll find an amazing person with talents and ideas. You know, I think if we get rid of all the bollocks, if you don't mind me saying that, that's going on, and just get to the people, you know, just get. So I have to find that when I talk to people, I find something magical in there. And I've actually had people say to me, some of the people you mix with, and they've done bad things or they've done this. I go, if you got to know them, you'd find out how magical they are. You know, find the magic. Everyone's got a bit of magic in them, haven't they?
Indeed. It's all right. I was just thinking that the next time you're on, Anne, the saying about bollocks, I've actually got that as a belt buckle. The word bollocks. I when I was younger, I used to say, I never used to swear. I used to say, read my belt. So the next time you're on, I'll just have to bring it up on the screen. I don't know where it is right now, but I'll be showing you my B, my hollocks. Yeah, you know, and yeah, even that thing with people who are perceived as bad. It's like, yeah, you know, everybody, you know, in certain situations, people do stuff, but it doesn't mean there isn't, you know, a lot of so-called bad people still love their mum. They still look after, you know, or
they
they'll
do.
look after. And it's that thing of, you know, we are all. There was an interesting one. There was a documentary I wrote. There was a documentary I watched, and it was about the people on death row, and you know, like when you first heard what they've done, oh, you know, oh, this sounds terrible, but then you listen to some of the backstories. Now, I'm not saying, you know, because they were abused as kids or you know, or whatever, that, you know, that that forgives them for what they did, but there's always more to a person. Yes, you know, they've done, you know, a bad thing or something happened, but you'll always find good in those people, and you'll always find that, you know, there's something else. You know, we're not all, most of the time, we're not all 100% dark or 100% light. There's always shade. There's always shades. You know,
there's shades, but you can find, when you start to find the good in somebody, that good starts to grow, and then the bad bit starts to fade. I mean, a guy I grew up with, and even, I won't say his name, but it was Dot the burglar. I mean, it was just a nightmare. You know, you'd kind of go and make sure he's not about when you left your house. It was just a nightmare. He couldn't help himself. But, you know, he did a lot for animals. It really shocked people because he never told anyone. You'd find he got up at the crack of dawn, fed the birds, he helped out an animal sanctuary. And as the years went on, he got more into that and less being a thief. He got more into animals. He moved away, went to the countryside, started to look after animals and birds more, which was interesting. So I think when we start to note the good in somebody, it starts to grow. That energy inside them grows. And that's what I like to get to. But now and again, I just think somebody's an arsehole and off I go. You know, I just kind of go, I do that. You know, I try not to be judgy, but if somebody's getting on my nerves and they are being really bad, I walk away from them. But I try and find that little spark of something magical in them. And sometimes just recognizing it, you see them shifting, you see a little change. And I like that. When you see it, you think I might trigger a little change in you.
Yeah. That you know, that's always my goal. You know, why I'm silly half the time, or 99% of the time, and I like making people laugh because it's the whole thing of if I can. Yeah. It goes. There's a saying I say a lot on the show. There's a little girl on the beach. Funny enough, me and beaches. Little girl on the beach, and there's thousands of starfish. And this man walking up, and she sees these thousands of starfish. And he sees the little girl picking up one, says something to them, and then puts it back in the water. And the man comes over and says, "What are you doing?" And she says, "I'm saving starfish." But there's thousands of them. You can't save them all. And she says, "But I saved this one, and I saved this one."
Brilliant.
And
yeah.
And that idea of, you know, if I can make somebody smile when they're not when they're feeling low, or if I can lift somebody or open their perspective just a tiny little bit, like you said about your Sifu, back in the day about, still doing the original job, because it's about planting seeds. It's about helping somebody.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it might not help. It might not work now, but someday in the future, that might be the tipping edge. It might tip them in the future. And it's but it's about doing stuff because I want to do it as well. So I make people laugh because I want to, because I want to make people laugh. I love
people. Yeah, I love funny people. I love being around funny people. Yeah. I do. My other page, which is like my slough mates, they are funny. They are constantly funny, and I love that. They're lighter. In some ways, they're more spiritual because they're lighter and they're constantly laughing and coming up with the cheeky things and funny things. They make me laugh a lot, and I really like that. That's why I put on my Facebook page today. God, I've woken up to loads of negative posts here. Tell me a joke. That's it. People are starting to post. Your videos are hysterical. So, and then you find you bursting out laughing, and that's what you need, isn't it? I love that. Spread a bit. One thing I like about the people I grew up with, in the times of great tragedy, and you pick any one of my friends and they've had tragedy. I always say, pick anyone and I'll tell you their story. You'll just be like, what? But they laugh a lot. They kind of, even in the darkest time, they'll find a funny side to it, like at a funeral and they're burying somebody that is so close to their heart and a bird flies over and shits on them. And they just kind of like, everyone bursts out laughing. You go, yeah, thanks for that. They think their relative has made it happen. It's just in those dark times, there's always that other side. You remember the person saying hilarious that they did, and you kind of have that warmth. I love laughter. People that are funny are gold dust in this day and age. We so need them.
Indeed, in the darkest times, the tiniest bit of light can radiate out, and I've always loved that saying. And that, like I say, that's always been my goal, and it's funny how you never take anything seriously. You do not know me at all, but the most serious, ironically, in the business, comedy is one of the most serious things. But it is that thing of letting crap go, letting stuff go, focus on the light and expand on that. I always go back to that thing of within Chinese medicine, that illness simply is blocked energy. So sadness, darkness, frustration simply is you're not looking hard enough. You're not opening up. You're narrowing your vision down. You've got to look out. You've got to look up. And there's actually a thing in depression. There's a qigong, an energizing exercise, very simple one. Is that when you're sad or low, just look up, and just breathe upwards, because it drains the brain and drains out
they don't feel depressed when they look up. The depression actually lifts when they look up. It's a really interesting one. My daughter taught me that. My youngest daughter taught me that when she works with her clients, to get people to look up, and she deals a lot of anxiety and depression. I'm not good at treating people with that, but she's brilliant at it. Get them to look up. Just one little exercise can change everything. And comedy's in a bit of a crisis at the moment. Comedians can't say this, can't say that, you better not say that. And you're finding it's getting very stifled, and they're getting cancelled. Some of them should get cancelled. There was one yesterday that said something nasty, and nastiness is a different ball game. I don't mind people taking the mickey or making a joke about me, but there's that element of nastiness. But we need comedy to get back on track now. We're losing comedy. We're scared to make a joke about anything. So we need to get back out there, not be cruel, not be spiteful or nasty, but we need comedy. But I think with you, it's just natural. When I'm talking to you, you'll just suddenly do something and we're rolling around laughing. So I think it's a natural thing. You are naturally funny. I love that. I love comedy. We all need to. What is that? Is it a mouse? Is it a bat? What is it?
That sounds like I should listen. It's Batman. No, what is it? Is it it's Stitch. It's there's me promoting. It was one of the creatures from it's supposed to be an alien from Milo and Stitch. So
okay.
But so there's Stitch. There's my dragon.
Oh my goodness! Don't let my granddaughter see that. She'll be after it. She'll want that one.
Well, actually, this one's got a story to it because I actually won this here in Worthing. Actually, blimey, I've just realised it was next. Is it next week or this week? 2 years ago, either next week or this week, I actually won it. I came down to Worthing, and I used to, as a kid, I used to love the claw machines.
Yeah, I love them.
Every now and again, I do the claw machine, and I won this in the claw machine.
Wow!
I've only just moved down about a month ago, and so it was, so 2 years ago, I think this week or next week, I won this. So that's quite
wow.
And then,
I love the arcade. They're brilliant.
Yeah, and then there's a Yoda somewhere, and the Yoda is the same thing. The Yoda came from the fruit machine and
wow,
claw machine as well. So.
Wow, you're good at that. I never win anything. I go in with a big pile of 2p's and 10p's and lose it all. I love arcade. They are the best fun. There's me and my friend Kathy Rawlins, and we're on somebody took a photo, and there we are shooting at a target. They're great, aren't they?
And I love toys. I love toys. I love props. I love props.
Yeah, props.
Because the whole idea is they're good metaphors, but it's good to loosen up. And actually out of reach, but my lightsabers are in the corner, which you normally see
I usually have a monkey. There's usually a monkey in my office, but he got bored and went to live with my granddaughter. He was bored in the office. Yeah, and he had a little white dressing gown, a proper PG monkey. I love the PG monkeys. So yeah, he's gone to live with my Maddie because I'm boring. My office is boring for a monkey.
For a monkey. For a monkey. Not enough bananas or fruit. That's what it is.
No. And then he'd see that we'd talk on WhatsApp, and he'd give her a little wave. I think I'm glad nobody put the head around the door because I'm sitting there with a monkey waving.
Yeah, with me though, people just go, "Oh, Boggy's up to his old tricks again." So, anyway, well, I've loved this. Thank you so much, Anne. It's
Anytime.
Great to have you on. So, for anybody who wants to know how to find you, where are you? Where can we find you?
I'm on Jirsch.com. Get my spelling. Find me on Facebook. I'm always on Facebook putting something up. Sometimes it's jokey, sometimes it's serious, a bit of everything. But find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Amazon. Jirsch.com. Yeah, and I do a free newsletter every month, and I always put a good exercise because I just think there's so much we can do with energy. And I've got loads of exercises, so every month I include one. So find me, keep in touch. I love to hear from people. It's great fun.
Yeah, indeed. So so thank you so much. And everybody else. It's great that you've always been one of my favourites.
Bless.
No, you are. No, Debbie, I think you actually, I'm pretty sure you was in the top. The first show we did, I think you was 10 or 11 in from the beginning. So all those years, what was that, 4 years ago now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I remember I was. I've done a few shows with you, and this is my favourite show to come on. I mean, I do a lot of shows. I mean, last year I was on American shows 3 or 4 a week for months and months and months. A really, really amazing publicist out there. I was forever on shows. This is my favourite show. It's energy, it's fun. Don't even know what we're talking about, to be honest, half the time. But,
I don't even know what I'm talking about. That's the whole point. Anyway. and thank you so much for that compliment. I told you the check's in the post. All right. So, guys, I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as we have. So, and don't go anyway just yet, but everybody else, remember, You can find me on Instagram under seafood.boggy. You can find me on YouTube under Seafood Boggy. You can find me on Facebook under The Way of Conscious Mindfulness or The Way of Seafood Boggy. And this show is also on Spotify as well as on YouTube, and it's also on the wonderful, amazing Bring Me to Life network. And I will see you next week. So that's it for now. But remember, deep breath. Open your mind to the way, the conscious way, the way of conscious mindfulness.